In the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's suspension of Parliament rumbles on. The main opposition Labour Party said on Thursday that it will trigger an emergency debate in Parliament next week in a bid to stop Mr. Johnson taking Britain out of the European Union without a withdrawal deal on October 31. The no-deal scenario is widely opposed in the British Parliament, and the elevated risk of it becoming reality sent sterling lower in the week. Well, let's see how the currency is doing at the moment. Juliana will tell us. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chimaze.
Now, after a tumultuous week that has seen the value of the pound fluctuate against both the euro and the dollar, early today we saw sterling relatively stable. How is the currency market doing at the moment, as well as the equities?
Well, let's have a look at the equities first. I think, the news that the trade war between China and the US could be coming to an end has really excited City workers. The FTSE All-Share is up by 0.64%. The FTSE 100 is up by 0.63%. And the FTSE 250 is up by 0.75%. The British pound not doing so well. It's down on the US dollar by 0.03%, down on the euro by 0.09%, and down on the Japanese yen by 0.17%. Clearly still struggling after all the political domestic turmoil.
And the latest UK nationwide house price survey shows that housing remains a buyer's market. Now, is this a case of confidence coming back into the sluggish UK market, irrespective of the messy Brexit?
Well, yes and no. I suppose any growth in the UK at the moment has to be seen as a good thing. And it did grow by 0.6%. But this is the 9th in the road, Chimmy, that it hasn't beaten that 1% benchmark, which is really what the industry is wanting to see. Now, the Nationwide's chief economist, Robert Gardner, he's been speaking this afternoon, and he said that really this data is giving us mixed signals. On the one hand, a lot of house builders are saying that there is been an increased inquiry from customers. But on the other hand, some consumers are a little bit cautious about their spending. There are also signs that mortgage approvals are on the up, but then property transactions, so actually, signing your signature on that deal is also very, very slow. At the moment, the average house price in the UK stands at just over £216,000. If you want to live in London, you would double that. You're likely to pay about £500,000. But there are some analysts that are taking this data as really positive news, particularly considering just how downbeat everyone is in the UK about this Brexit paralysis that we're in.
Absolutely. Anyway, the month of August ends with Brexit, still a hot topic. What's your outlook for next week as we enter a new month?
Well, my gosh, if anybody thought that this week was tough and full of breaking news, next week is going to be even more intense. Why? That's because next week will be the first week that lawmakers face each other in the House of Commons since their very long summer break. Some are even saying that this is going to be the toughest week for Boris Johnson, not since becoming Prime Minister, but since becoming a politician. He's got a lot of people that are looking to face him. And of course, next week is the only week where lawmakers can try and stop that no deal and potentially the prorogation. There are several legal battles taking place across the UK, in Northern Ireland, in Scotland, and here in England. Now, the one that was taking place in Scotland, this was about 74 MPs that were very quick before the Queen had even agreed on the Privy Council's request. That injunction this morning has been rejected by a judge in Scotland, although they will be appealing. So next Tuesday, they'll be in court. There is a very popular lady in the UK called Gina Miller. Now, she tried to stop, she is a private sector individual who tried to stop Britain going through with Article 50 earlier last year. Of course, that case was thrown out of court, but she's got the backing this afternoon from John Major, the former Conservative Prime Minister. He'll be backing her, so there'll be a judicial review next week. And in Northern Ireland on Thursday, one of the high courts there will be trying to stop this suspension. So there's several things going on. But Boris Johnson earlier today did say that from next week, twice a week, week he will be having discussions with senior figures in the EU to try and get a deal. So that's the kind of sentiment going into this weekend. He's trying to appease those who oppose him by saying, look, no deal isn't out of the a deal isn't out of the question, and in fact, the prorogation of Parliament has strengthened Britain's negotiation rights with the EU. So the Brexit paralysis continues, and next week I think is going to be a busy one, Chimi.
We'll watch and see what happens. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you, Chimi.
Right, and stocks in Asia were mixed on Friday as Beijing hinted that it will not retaliate against the latest round of tariffs from Washington for now. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 rose 1.19%. The Topix index also added 1.46%. Australia's ASX 200 jumped 1.49%. Similar gains were seen in South Korea, where the Kospi finished the session 1.78%. Mainland Chinese shares, on the other hand, slipped on the day. The Shanghai Composite was down 0.16%. The Shenzhen Composite fell 0.74%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was fractionally higher as of its final hour of trading. And the U.S. stock index futures were higher on Friday morning as the world's two largest economies showed a willingness to resolve their long-running trade dispute. At around 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow futures rose 138 points, indicating a positive open of more than 159 points. Futures on the S&P and Nasdaq were both higher, reversing earlier losses. On the data front, personal income figures for July will be released at around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Consumer spending for July and the latest monthly and annualized core personal consumption expenditures will be released at the same time. When we come back after the break, we do a wrap-up of the markets in South Africa as well as update from the Nigerian equities market. Do stay with us.